Hey, uh, name is Smallwood Holoman Jr., which suggests that there was one before me named Smallwood Holoman, my father. Born March 10th, 1953, and this was back in Virginia. And I go by the nickname, and if any of my friends hear this, I don't want to hear it anymore beyond whatever day we speak. But I used to go by the nickname Junie, and it's because being a junior. And of course, not necessarily my mom named me that. It was one of my aunts. Born in Norfolk, Virginia, and actually grew up during my early childhood time in Chesapeake, Virginia. It was once called South Norfolk, but was changed its name. I think that was in the mid to late 60s to Chesapeake, Virginia, where it became more independent from Norfolk because it used to be sort of an annex of the city of Norfolk. But Chesapeake, where I grew up, and my primary and secondary schooling was there. There in Southeast Virginia. Um, it's interesting. I occasionally go back to we have a family history book that was written by my cousins, um, and I tell people now and then when I'm having discussions that I'm the great great grandson of a slave. It was Jason and Martha Holoman, and they were both born in rural Virginia down in the Isle of Wight area. Um, but my nuclear family, uh, mom and dad, Smallwood Senior, and my mom was Neely Holoman. Neely was actually my mom from North Carolina, born in the Elm City, Wilson, North Carolina area. Um, that area, yeah. And where my dad was born too, because we had family reunions. I mean, that's one thing my family valued, and I can't remember too many years except lately that I didn't attend family reunions. My family consisted of course, my mom, dad, and I had an older sister, Jackie. She and I didn't fight very much, but we had our disagreements. But a loving sister now, since my parents have been gone, I know she and I communicate with each other quite often. It's actually created a bigger bond between us. She went away to school, went to college there in Richmond, um, and so quite a bit of my high school years and all of my collegiate years, she was an occasional visitor to the house. So, but since mom and dad's been gone, we communicate quite a bit now.
What was the
So,
difference in age?
only 19 months. Yeah, she was born in August of 51, and I was born in March of 53. So, yeah, 18 to 19 months difference. Um, but I tease her that I'm the smarter of the group.
A typical brother, right?
Oh yes, you got to do that. You got to keep your siblings, on the edge.
Well, tell me what some of your fondest memories of growing up.
Oh, wow. That's a good broad one. But you know what is if there's one thing I have always valued has been my family. And some of my earlier memories were because this is interesting. We never, well, since I was young, I didn't have a car, so we relied on public transportation for anywhere we went. Now, and we did have relatives and friends that take us to important places, but mostly that. And I say that because when we visited my mom's home, um, it was always, I always look forward to getting on that Greyhound bus. Mom would pack us a lunch, and my sister and I would be there and peeping out the window, seeing, some part of Virginia and North Carolina we'd never seen before. And I remember just the joy of a bus ride. And I think even today, my wife teases me about wanting to drive everywhere I go, like from Michigan here to Virginia, I just loved driving. I just loved seeing the world. So my fondest memory has been the family gathering particularly my sister, myself, and my mom going to North Carolina for some sort of visit.
Describe what your community was like growing up. How did neighbors interact?
Even today, I brag about that neighborhood because we were you don't realize these things until you move away and grow up, but we were an extremely close-knit community. Um, we knew all of those that lived in the community, and there were probably about oh, 10, 15 houses within this portion of the community where I lived. It was semi-rural because there were lots of trees and lots of places for me and my buddies to get in trouble with. And I'm not sure if they're fond memories, but I've got some memories of us hiding in the woods. And but the neighborhood predominantly black. Well, actually, it was exclusively black with where I stayed. Um, and it was just such a caring community. Yeah, the neighbors well, it's interesting. There are three houses within that neighborhood now still being occupied by the same persons that built it, by my mom and dad and two other families. And we are as close knit now as we were 50 years ago. Um, and fond memories of that community. Again, loving community. We laughed a lot. My parents played cards, and that was always a hilarious thing because my dad was always accused of cheating. He and his partner in bid whist, and the kind of conversations that we had were just they were wholesome ones that helped to just generate a sense of love for each other. That second to none. Now, I love the community I'm in now, but it doesn't even compare to the kind of caring we had back when I was growing up. Um,
Oh,
so, and the other more interesting thing that I can recall vividly, there's lots of discussions about single parent homes, and I can understand that phenomenon, but I honestly can't think of a house within my neighborhood that it wasn't occupied by both male and female, or father and mother. Um, and that probably had a a good beginning for all of us to recognize the family unit and how important that is, particularly in a Black family. Now, I'll describe just briefly. You've heard the term on the other side of the tracks, and we had the other side of the tracks, which was a predominantly white community, um, and we didn't mingle. We did not mingle at all, um, um, and which I think is a shame. Now, and maybe there were those that did because across the track there was still part of a Black community, but if you go further south along those tracks, the community changed completely. But yeah, those were okay times. I loved them.
great. Well, tell me about your parents. What kind of work that they do, or did your dad and or mother do?
Sure. Well, I'm going to start with their academic background. My father went as far as the seventh grade for his education. He was one of, oh boy, let's see, probably about seven other siblings um, who and lived on a farm, and their major responsibility was to work the farm. So he was, I would guess, say, handicapped not having a full educational experience. So you can imagine when he did have jobs, those were predominantly manual labor jobs, but my dad was one hardworking man. I can't remember when he didn't have more than two jobs. I mean, I can recall hearing him getting up early, and there used to be sort of a community bus that took them to the naval base, the area where I live, big Navy town, and he worked as a civilian employee there. And after that job, he'd wouldn't come home. He'd go directly to his second job, which was at a bakery. And I vividly remember when he would come in the house, and it was only a part-time job, I believe, because he'd come in at least around 8 o'clock, and he would bring with him the aroma of being in the bakery. And that's another memory that will never leave my brain. And that just, it also gave me a sense of joy that my dad is home. I knew he was home, and because I can smell the bread. My mom did graduate from high school, but during that time, this is back in the mid to late 50s, she took a job as caretaker, house caretaker for a white family. I can remember her coming home some days and fussing about how she may have been treated, and I can't remember any of the specifics of that, but um, I do remember her saying the family she helped to take care of had one bad kid. And I guess she wished she had the opportunity to whip him. Give him a sense of, I need to correct that behavior because it's not conducive. But she worked as a domestic worker, and this was predominantly when we lived in Norfolk in my early years. And when we moved to Chesapeake, she became one of the, I'll call it, star cooks at the elementary school that I went to. And so, as a young child, when I go through line to pick up my meal, I'd see my mom there, and she just greet me with a smile and ask me, "Did I want a roll?" And yes, please give me a roll, because she was part of the assembly line of people, but she had some great skills in cooking. So she worked at the local school, um, but she and my dad were smart as whistles. My dad was an excellent person with math, and I'll tell you that history later. And my mom was an outstanding seamstress, cook, because she was called upon by the neighbors in the neighborhood for all kinds of things. If someone's getting married or some events coming up, she was the go-to lady to either prepare a partial meal for them, or in some cases, her sewing machine was going all night long making some sort of garment that someone has requested. Um, and she was the lady that I'll say too, my mom. I tell the world, she helped introduce me to God and who God is in my life. And because I can remember as a young tyke, I was real confused about God. Confused in the sense of who invented God? When was he born? And I guess I can tell you this story now. She could tell the curiosity in my mind, and she said to me, "Here, hold my." She gave me her wedding ring, and she asked me to find where it began and where it ended. And I remember taking the ring and looking and looking. I said, because you hope to see some indentation that said, "Yeah, this is where it began." And there was nothing there. And she says, "Well, that's my best explanation to you who God is. He's always been and always will be. And he's not necessarily like people who have to die. He will always live." And I said, "Well, thank you, Mom." That helped me tremendously, because my mind couldn't, it's still something many people can't comprehend, that there is a spirit that has always been in this vast universe of ours. But that was a helpful one to me.
Very, very creative, very creative. Tell me about your education, in terms of your experience in school, what school was like, some of the routines related to your school and experiences while you were growing up?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. I was one who would get sad when school was out during the summer because there was just something about, well, and again, in small semi-rural areas, you get to know teachers. And actually, a few of the teachers lived in the neighborhood, not very close, but lived close enough that if I were a bad boy, they could easily just let my mom know it on their way home. But school really did create the curiosity that I have had in life. Um, and I'll tell you a quick story that supplements that. When I was quite young in elementary school, my mom was bringing me home from some event, and it had gotten to be dusk dark, and on the horizon was this huge orange ball, something I'd never seen. I guess today they call it a harvest moon, but it was huge, and it frightened me. And well, my mom did something. I told you she was a smart woman. Before I knew it, well, she explained to me what it was. I could be afraid. But it wasn't too many years later, she got me a telescope. All right. And she also got me some other science things because um, my schooling early on in life involved curiosity about things like that. Also, when I was growing up, while in elementary school, um, we'd get the announcements that uh, there are rockets going in the air and there are people in it. And I just happened to be, how old was I? I guess I was 14 or so years old, 13 years old, when my mom allowed me to stay home to see the landing on the moon. Um, I have always had a curiosity and interest in science. And from elementary school to high school, I was equipped to do that. And I had the greatest science teachers who kept that going in me. So yeah, and again, I think and I know I had teachers that recognized something was going on there, or maybe my mom secretly told them that, hey, this kid, he might like science, and but I just got this yearning to want to get science and math, um, and I guess we talk about experiences. It led to me when I graduated from high school, going to college to study chemistry, and actually chemistry and electrical engineering. But I really zeroed in on chemistry, and of course I spent 36 years at Dow Chemical Company as a chemist and eventually into management. So my early education was just, it was tailor-made for me. I mean, I guess that's what God had something to do with that too, because I don't think none of us smart enough to say, hey, here's a path this guy needs to take because he's got something to contribute. And even today, I mean, though I'm retired, been retired now for almost 14 years, um, there aren't, I can't remember a year where I haven't used my science in some aspect, whether it's being a lead judge in science fair in the chemistry area, still going to speak to young people about careers. Uh, I mean, I just can't let it go. Can't let it go.
That is great. What were the demographics like in K through 12?
Well, uh, I'd say the student, work with that one, were predominantly African American students, Black students. But when I got to middle school and definitely high school, that's when you get now an introduction to uh, white teachers and so forth. And again, that's where I say again, I'm blessed. I mean, the teachers we had were just genuinely good people. There's We don't have too many staff members still alive, but there's one that I communicate with, lives down in Florida now, so I suspect he's in his late 80s, maybe early 90s. Um, who, we find ourselves reminiscing on Facebook about experiences at Crestwood High School, was high school I went to in Chesapeake. Um, uh, so, so demographics, yeah, it became a more integrated school when predominantly Black, but integrated when I went to middle school and high school and experiencing what it was like to be around teachers who were not Black. Now, and I think while there was a good social education for me, I think I know it was an excellent one for those white teachers.
Mm.
And I'll put it this way. I've been given the privilege, I think sometimes voluntold by my classmates. I've been their reunion president for the last 25 years now. And I communicate with our class and special events. I communicate with teachers. Um, and I think it was 10 years ago, one of our not annual, but 10-year anniversaries, invited all the teachers who were alive and local. And I think we had two white teachers that responded and was there, and one of the teachers actually moved up to be a principal. She gave a story. She says, "My education at the predominantly Black school was probably the best one in life I'd ever had." She talked about the excellence, particularly the attitude of the students and wanting to learn. She even told us stories about what she learned at my high school. She took to this now predominantly white school, with actually it was more integrated school, and used those same things. She said with faculty, she demanded her faculty wear their college robes to graduations and other events. She says typically they don't. They don't find themselves really melting into the school and feeling the students and she says, I wanted that because I got it from you guys. She says, it was the best. And now she doesn't she doesn't miss our reunions when we get together. And of course, a couple of them we may have to wheel into our events. But I'll just say this: the learning, the experiences from the high school years. It clearly went both ways because these folks clearly understand it. Oh, and others, we gave them 4 or 5 minutes to speak at our event, and many of them were in tears when they were there. They were glad to see that we'd done well. Uh, my high school was phased out. I was actually the last graduating class, and it was phased out, but speech I gave to them 20 years ago said, but the spirit of this school is still alive. And I told them it's going to be up to us to make sure it stays that way. And so, yeah, great experience in high school, great teachers.
Talk about and describe your church or faith upbringing and community.
Where I am now or where I was
Well,
then.
as you were growing up, especially, and you could certainly touch on now, but mostly when you were growing up.
Sure. Well, the experience, I had the fortune, but if you're a young kid, you may think of it as a misfortune of living right across the street from the church we attended. This is when I was quite young, then like I said, up till the first grade, I guess, when we lived in Norfolk. Went to a Shiloh Baptist there in Norfolk, and yeah, I remember, as a young kid, the most exciting things about it was singing the songs. Jesus loves me, this I know, eating the cookies and drinking the punch. That I can't remember that there wasn't a Sunday, and definitely whenever there was vacation Bible school. I mean, you get those cookies and punch, and that, this thing with God is all right with me now. So it was one where you look forward to going to church. And when you're young and don't completely understand what's going on, but you feel the benefits of being there. Now, I do remember vividly, but and it was a predominantly black church, founded way back in the 1800s. Um, and I remember this one time, I'm I think I had to be about 9 years old there. Now we were probably commuting from Chesapeake to the church, and I remember dozing off and laying my head on my mom's shoulder. And this good church lady to my left said to me, "You're getting to be a big boy now. You shouldn't be leaning on your mom's shoulder to go to sleep." And that was another small lesson in life that says, yeah, I am getting older now. I should act more like a big boy instead of continuing to do those things that are comforting, I guess, when being in church. And there are little lessons like that that you don't forget, but I think it you move from adolescent to as close to an adult that you can get. But um, yeah, and even at that age, I can't say many of the sermons were that I remembered at all. I mean, words were above my head, and scripture was not something I cared about. And um, but as I grew up, I remember age 15. My mom encouraged me, and there were a couple of the kids to go to vacation Bible school, but it was that vacation Bible school where I decided, I think it's time for me to get baptized. And because that strong lessons that now I can comprehend. Um, and I remember being baptized in at that age, I think again 15, I believe it was, and a light bulb went off on me about about my environment. And I'm not sure if I mixed it in with my interest in science or not, but I remember just taking nice little walks in that rural area and looking around and saying, wow, God made this too, and things like that that just generated the kind of appreciation for all that's around me, the simplistic things that are around me. Um, so and so yeah, I began to grow spiritually. I think I can say that was the first time I really grew spiritually. Yeah, early age I had this curiosity about God and the world as a God exists, and later on in life, just beginning to appreciate what God does do. And so went to that church because it was also right across the street from the college I went to, Norfolk State University. And so everything for me was pretty convenient there. And but yeah, the I'd say my spiritual experiences were good. Um, I, great leadership in the church. Um, never, I'll say this: I never grew up wanting to be a minister. Make that clear. Yeah. But that's another story.
Well, thank you. What are some of the family traditions that you value and have passed down to your family?
Well, again, it's going to be the family dinner. Um, Even though my two sons, I'm not sure how much they gathered that. They really absorbed it and understood, why you want to make sure when you have dinner, you want to have it with the rest of the folks. But that was one of just a family gathering to eat.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing I had hoped maybe through osmosis, and I think it did work out sometime, is um, I observed my mom when she used to cook, and again, she was a great cook. When I moved from Virginia to Michigan, it was my intent that I don't see any reason I have to go out to restaurants to eat. I can cook it myself.
Mhm.
And I remember this one dish I attempted, and that was making yeast rolls. My mom used to make the best yeast rolls in the world, and I can honestly say it took about 10 years before I got it right. um, because when I'd have my sons with me then, and they'd watch me make up what looked like a batch of stuff, and it didn't turn out right. The rows wouldn't rise, and I remember we jokingly saying, "Oh no, I'm not sure if it was I did it or my sons." They said, "Are those cookies?" Because they were so flat. I said, "Yes, these are cookie rolls." And we got out the honey and we dipped it in honey and we ate them and we went yummy. Um, I'm not sure if that's a tradition. I've often wondered if they remember those days when we when I attempted to do that. But a sense of making them self-sufficient when it comes into their life. I mean, you should be able to cook when you need it, when you're hungry, whether you're single or married. And right now, I'm getting a real big dose of cooking with some help I'm giving to my wife right now. So I've taken over that job for quite some time now. But yeah, if that, I'm sure if I want to call that a tradition other than just a uh,
Yeah,
it could be.
yeah.
And try to integrate them into the reunion, the family reunions, and the importance of those things, and um, so they can appreciate their history because we get a lot of history.
Are there holidays that were special for you, or events, holidays or other events that I think you mentioned the family reunions. Were there other holidays that were uh, special for you?
Because I love to eat, the Thanksgiving and Christmas were really, really special. And as my guys were growing up and they eventually, went to college somewhere, we made it pretty clear, Thanksgiving is really a time for us to get together. And it's usually a great time when we get together. There's lots of laughter and football watching um, but most important, lots of eating. And they know I love preparing cheesecakes and and now I shouldn't say perfected, but and now that I've gotten a little better with the rolls, they look forward to my homemade rolls. Um, and they usually contribute also. I mean, my youngest son, who's youngest meaning 41, he prides himself in making pulled pork. And my oldest son prides himself in doing lots of grilling and things like that. So, and I should include birthdays and these holidays that we meet. And so each are just like the tradition we use, somebody brings a dish. And so we combine those dishes together and just have a joyous time.
That is wonderful, wonderful. So you mentioned food as a central part of family. Describe, uh, and you may have talked about this some. Describe a little bit more family meals when you were growing up. And you mentioned some of the things your mother prepared already. But what were uh, daily or weekend family meals like?
Yeah. Um, well, when we talk weekend, let's start right with breakfast. If I go back to my days when I was younger and living with my parents, breakfast was an extremely important meal of the day. I do not remember ever not having a breakfast. I mean, from elementary through high school and um, periodically when I was in college, but I mean, it was something about the breakfast get together which was very important to us. We started that day. When my guys would come home from college, yeah, we'd have a nice big breakfast. I mean,
Well, you did that as you were growing up. You all had breakfast uh, every morning as you.
every morning, yes, we did. Now, and because particularly during school days when I was uh, primary through secondary, my dad was usually not part of that. Usually on weekends, though, it's when we would have breakfast. Now, my dad also prided himself because we used to love it on weekends. Um, he could prepare the best baked fish, and this was a breakfast fish. And I wish I knew before he passed away. Should I ask, what fish was that you used to bake mornings? Because it was the most delicious fish to have with your eggs and some other things. And so that just brings some great memories again about that tradition. Now he didn't do fish every weekend, but particularly holiday weekends, you could look forward to the aroma of his baked fish to be part of the breakfast menu. But yeah, I mean, we sort of value that. I mean, my guys love their pancakes and waffles. When I used to take them as young tykes down to see their grandparents, the tradition continued. My mom is usually an early riser. You could hear her singing mornings, 5:30 if I sort of wake up. She's singing songs and by the time the sun is up and ready, well, she used to always give priority to her grandkids and want to know what they want. And she'd have them all the waffles and pancakes they could put in their little bellies. Um, so breakfast was really just sort of a special dinner, but of course the dinner itself, when there's a holiday or event like that, that was special too because like I say, there was usually contributing um, meals that when the guys got older would bring. And when they were younger, of course, we all prepared that together. They did very little work then, but so yeah, so the dinners on special holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and now it's interesting. We celebrate lots of birthdays, um, and my oldest son and my wife are actually born on the same day, so that's a special time to serenade them on their special day. So
Yeah.
so holidays like that are always special for us.
What are some of if you were to list a few things your parents instilled in you, or that were important to them, what would you say those things were?
Well, I think I could. Well, I'd say through osmosis, I learned that community is very, very important, whether you're in a predominantly Black community or white community. Um, you should care about the people with whom God has put on your left and your right. Um, my parents were like this. My dad, though again, not highly educated, but just willing to work hard. I mean, he would be one right at a friend's house helping to do whatever repairs are going on. I mean, uh, I can remember many a times he's up early. He didn't have many tools either, but he had his hammer and his screwdrivers, and he's going to the Tripp's house, neighbors of ours, and the Tillery's house to help them install a cabinet. And I'm sure he'd never done it before, but he's always been the type willing to do that. I mean, no fussing about it. He just was willing to do it. My mom was in the same vein. When there was a need, she was right there. I mean, it's like they understood the importance of friendships and friends. Now, I sometimes get accused of, boy, you sure do a lot for a lot of people, don't you? And yeah, I'm engaged with a number of groups. I'm usually willing, and I put in garbage disposals and dishwashers and all those things. Um, we do have some friends now that whenever anything comes up, they call me. One day there was a bat in their umbrella, their outside umbrella. And the gentleman there was a little uncomfortable about it. I figured a bat is just a rodent. And so what do? I go over there with my equipment and we get the bat out and find a way to make sure he stayed out and repair garage door openers. I mean, I'm usually a go-to person for. I guess I was a jack of all, master of none, but willing to give what time I could. So, if there's something I learned from them, is their willingness to just want to be of help to their neighbor. Um, yeah, I've got this gets a little political. Well, I'm not going to get political, but I have some neighbors that it's obvious we politically are not on the same boat. We don't roll that same direction. And I remember vividly, this was only a couple of years ago. I was actually cleaning my driveway. We just had a little dusting of snow, and the neighbor came out and said, I need some help. There's water everywhere, gushing in my basement, and I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I've got an idea. And sure enough, their water heater broken and water's gushing everywhere. So I tromped through the water and got to the valve that shut everything down and told them, well, I don't install water heaters, so you need to call your plumber. But I mean, if I had allowed our political differences to not allow me to assist,
Mm.
I mean, I'd say shame on me and shame on me. So I can separate and I like to use term, but this is being videoed. But I can separate my political differences
Mm.
and to substitute for a person's need. Because someday I'll be in need, and I hope someone has that same attitude that yeah, we don't think alike, but he's my neighbor.
What do you think of the differences between families when you grew up and families today? If
Mm,
there are differences, what are the biggest differences that you see?
Phyllis, you have some great questions here. um, I first of all, I think I mean, each generation has pressures on them. Families have pressures on them. Um, back during my day, well, and actually, I tell people I must have been insulated from a lot of the racism that was going on. We didn't have, excuse me, we didn't have TikTok and 24-hour TV to help tell me and remind me that here's some bad things that people are doing. Because I know it's out there, but when I grew up, I didn't get a lot of that. So I'm going to say, the pressures uh, are a lot more now because people know a lot more about other folk. If I just relate it to societal pressures. And that can cause enough stress on anyone. Well, when they know they send little Johnny to this integrated school, is little Johnny being taken care of? Is little Johnny going through a bunch of stuff that kids learn from their parents? I mean,
Mm.
so parents have a bigger burden, I believe, today, a larger burden on them than my parents had on doing our day. Now, my mom used to tell me about her riding the bus and had to ride in the back and the segregated bathroom, basically the Jim Crow laws that were permeating the South. But she persevered through that. But once we got into our neighborhood, that was a thing of the past. I knew nothing about except what she told me about these segregated things. So if there's a difference in family today versus yesteryear, um, the social pressures on families are just enormous. Um, the other, I mean, and if I go to education, um, I believe I know I got a top-notch education in that little black school I went to. The teachers cared about you, um, and they were like a secondary parent. I mean, it was just a lot of things they didn't accept. I mean, I may be surprising, but I ran my mouth a lot in school when I was younger. And I had teachers remind me that you're talking too much to Holoman, you're not learning anything here. And they had their means to remind me that I had to straighten up. Um, Unfortunately, yeah, in today's world, and I'm not going to say teachers don't care. Some of them I do think don't care, but they don't have the permission to be a disciplinarian in their classroom, and they will escape that to putting more other punitive things on a child, like sending them to the office or expelling them from school, where now the learning process has gone to zero if you're not in school. So it's a different educational environment for them. That and the kids have pressure on them. I mean, there are very few I call all black schools, even though what difference would that make? But I know what difference it makes when you have caring teachers that want to make sure you learn. And then of course, the family unit. Uh, well, if I were a really old dude, I'd talk about, yeah, we've got a world where uh, one sex believe they can raise kids without the other sex. That we don't need a mom-dad structure for them to grow up right. Now, I'm not going to propose that can happen, but I'll tell you this: a single parent works really, really hard for their child, and if they have more than one child, really, really, really hard, without having that secondary person in their life to help take the load off. So, but we have an acceptance in our society that yeah, uh, uh, I can do it by myself, and this world doesn't work as smoothly unless you want the pressures of being an independent parent. Now, I'm not, I have to be careful with that one because I mean, all I'm saying. It's very tough today because some acceptances of, and some are purposely. I mean, some single parents are not of the will of that spouse or that person. I mean, death happens, and divorce happens and things like that. But some possibly they willfully want. I want to have a child, but I don't need that second person to help me raise them.
As I'm looking at our time, I'm just going to ask you to tell me about some lessons you learned that you would share with others, or that you would share with your younger self.
Ooh, lessons I've learned that I'd share with my younger self.
Or that you would share, impart to young people in your life.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I learned, let's say if these were a group of young scholars meaning from elementary to high school, I'd let them know about the complexity of the world we live in and that they better be prepared with options in life. Now, all of that is meaning um, when you go to school, if they're trying to teach you to learn the right verbs to use at the right time, take that seriously. If they're trying to teach you some pretty simple chemistry lessons that may be applicable to your life, take it and have some energy to learn it. And that goes with all these subject areas. Um, and I say all that in that you don't know where your life's going to take you. I've met young people who did prepare themselves. They were very interested in language and the arts, and when they grew up, they discovered that because of that early interest in that, it prepared them for a career in the arts or in the sciences. I'd say the sciences for several reasons, not only to be a scientist, but we need a whole bunch of folks understanding science in the legal profession, so that when issues come up with big companies and they're dumping something, if let's say they're dumping sodium chloride in the water,
Mhm.
sodium chloride is just table salt. I
Mhm.
mean, so I mean, there need to be a knowledge of at least some rudimentary things in life, because you never know if you're going to be a lawyer in a case that's dealing with chemistry or in chemicals, or you're going to be the chemist explaining what it's all about, or you completely get out of that and maybe go into just education. But have options, get all that you can get all the math, get all the science, get everything you can get. Not that you're going to have to zero in on one now, but again, you never know where your life will turn you. My job at Dow, we used to hire lots of mechanical engineers. Many of them did not have an opportunity to go into our manufacturing plant. They went into sales, they went into marketing, areas like that that didn't touch the technology, but your knowledge of the technology is going to make you a valuable person. So, if anything, I wish I had over prepared myself by getting lots of stuff in my brain, some of which I wouldn't like and wouldn't want to do eventually in life. But we can't tell what tomorrow's going to bring and what opportunities may come before you.
What would you like to be remembered for? What do you see as your legacy?
uh, something as simple as a caring person. I mean, I keep it like that. And it'll reflect in how you use your time in life.
Mhm.
Um, I have discovered in me that I have a passion for youth development, just seeing young people move from point A to point B. Maybe it was all that time when the lady in church said it's time for you to grow up. Um, but Yeah, but it told me that, hey, I care about something. Here's what I care about: young people moving from laying on their mommy's arm to a point where they're ready for life. And so yeah, if you saw my resume, it's got a whole bunch of stuff from Boy Scouts, Youth Protection Council, Boys and Girls Club, um, stuff at my church. I mean, they're just a bunch of things that show the kind of caring and passion that I would have for my community. And my community extends beyond this one. I live here in Midland to communities within Michigan, from it went as far down as Detroit to Saginaw, Michigan, and that's where I give my time and energy, and occasionally some treasures. To areas of passion to me. So yeah, if I can be noted as he truly was a kind person, willing to give of himself for somebody else.
And so talk a little bit about this is the final question. What does it mean to you to be a part of the extended Jenkins Horn family community, a part of the annual Thanksgiving celebration? So as we close out, talk about that, what that means to you.
Well, first of all, I have the highest regard and respect for the Jenkins family, and if I never ate a turkey leg or anything at the holiday celebration they have, my respect for what they do in the community is just it's outstanding. Um, yeah, I learned of them long ago, uh, of things they do, and Jim and Anita. Well, as I mentioned, I work with a lot of groups, and uh, their name will be some of the first names I bring up for philanthropic people. Not, and it's not just they've been blessed with the resources to do it, but yeah, first of all, you have to have the heart to want to do it, even if you've got the resources. I mean, they're billionaires that don't give a dime to anything other than something for themselves. But you have to have the heart to want to make your community and people around you better off. So I'm just proud to be asked to be a part of that, and they make you feel like you're part of the bloodline in their family when we have these reunions. I mean, and they have some of the most beautiful people you ever want to be around. And I say beautiful in the sense you ask, hi, you live in Virginia or North Carolina. What do you do? And they'll put off this litany of where they give of their time and talents and treasures, and you go, wow, that person cares beyond what their address is wherever they live, and so it's that sort of that's my sense of very happy to be a part of the celebration. Um, Now, I remember the first time asked, I'm going, oh my God, that's football Thursday, when all the great games come on. But guess what? You don't miss a stroke there either. Jim has already thought it out. There's a big screen TV in there blasting everything you want to see. Um, but again, in a serious note, they are probably the most giving people I know. And I know if we went back 20, 30 years, um, they would be out there on the streets doing something for somebody. I mean, my days are slowing down too, but they when you have that kind of heart, um, sometimes the only limitation you have may be in your physical ability to do some things. Um, but Jim and Anita have just found other ways that they can be impactful in the community.
Well, Smallwood, I want to thank you so much for participating in this oral history project.